Hello and welcome to another episode of Pop Culture Rewind. I'm your host Travis, and
this is Chris.
And in this episode, we want to make you smile and put on a happy face, because in this episode we're doing our full spoiler review of Joker. So about a week ago, we did an awesome Joker Spotlight episode. Yeah. So if you haven't checked that out,
stop. Don't listen to this. Don't watch this. Go back.
Yeah.
Listen to the podcast we did before.
Yes.
Then watch us.
Yes. But still watch us. Anyway. But yeah, you can check out that episode on our website at popculturerewind.com or just anywhere that you get your audio podcast from. Just do a search for Pop Culture Rewind, hit the download button, hit the subscribe button. If you like how we did,
5 stars.
5 stars all the way.
If you don't like what we did,
5 stars. 5 stars. Yeah. Either way, leave us a review. We appreciate it. And if you like how we did, just share us with your friends. Tell all your friends how we did.
Or if there's anything you think we should talk about.
Yes, that too.
Yeah. We're always starving for ideas.
Either way, we greatly appreciate all of your support. Yes. So, now that it's out of the way...
El Joker.
That's a what?
The Joker.
Oh, yes. The Joker. No, actually, no, it's not the Joker. It's just Joker. Not to be confused with DC Comics' The Joker.
Yes.
Exactly. So I did there. We'll get back to that here at the end.
Before we start at the beginning.
Yes.
You get up from your chair, the lights go on, you walk out of the theater, you walk in towards your car. Mm-hmm. What's the first thing that pops in your mind when you finish watching this movie?
It was very well done, just cinematically. Everything kind of pieced together very, very well. I thought that maybe there were some spots that it's weird. It's like some spots I felt kind of dragged a little bit, but at the same time, I didn't feel like anything was wasted in the movie. I think everything they did was for a purpose.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I agree. There's some character development scenes that felt a little longer than necessary.
Yeah.
But I think it would have been more of a disservice if those scenes were cut out entirely.
Oh, yeah.
The movie.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they left them in. And it gives you room to breathe, to process things, as opposed to a lot of, not to point any fingers, but like previous Zack Snyder films where you just bam, 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 bam. You don't have time to let anything like resonate.
It's all, well, that's the difference. You know, in the past DCEU films, it's all style over substance. Mm-hmm. Where now we're starting to get back to that foundation of substance matters, substance over style. And even then, you could say this movie has a little bit of both.
I was about to say that.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah.
My concern going into it was I was thinking, oh god, it's a 2-hour movie. It's going to be like an hour and a half of just like him like moping around and going through shit.
Yeah. And
then the last 30 minutes is going to be, the stuff in the makeup and everything that we see in the trailers, which it's almost to the point. It's, to an extent, I should say. Mm-hmm. It's almost like that. Yeah. But like that's going back to my first point. It doesn't feel like bogged down and wasted on that development stuff because we need that.
Yeah,
and that's the one thing I was going to say. Let's get right into it. When we're talking about the star of this movie, Joaquin Phoenix, it doesn't go understated that he is the star, obviously, of this movie, but he's the reason why it's successful. I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I agree.
And that was one of the first things, and we talked about this in that podcast episode when we kind of vaguely touched on this movie because we haven't seen it when we did that episode.
Just first impressions on Joaquin compared to everybody else before him.
Yeah, and I knew going in he was going to knock it out of the park, and I think he did. The good thing is, or the main way you can tell that is if you look about it, if you think about all the scenes that he's in, he's not really playing off a lot of different people. He's usually going through some shit on his own. Or he's either working against the actress who played his mother, or Zizi
Bates.
Yeah. Or Robert De Niro. and maybe some side characters other than that. But for the most part, it's all focused on him and how he's reacting to those other characters. So it just shows as a character piece how good he is to play off of almost nothing or very little as when it comes to the other actors in this movie. So, would you like to add anything about Joaquin before we move on to what we got in this movie?
I was a bit trepidatious.
For him?
Yeah.
Okay.
For the movie in general. A lot of people's concerns were either we don't need an origin story of the Joker,
right,
or it's gonna come across like we didn't need it.
Yeah.
Or it didn't fit with people's perceptions of it. You're wearing the shirt. You've got the books. We're sitting in a room full of stuff. You're bound by the history.
Right.
I'm not bound by that history. So, I went in even with an open mind.
Well, then they're appealing to your general audience mentality.
Yeah.
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 A normie, if you will.
Yeah. But even then, I had to like, I don't want to get my hopes up because at the end of the day, if it's in the theater and it's got DC on it,
right?
They've led me to believe that the train's not always on the right track, so to speak.
So basically, you're going off of DC's track record.
Yeah, I'm going off of DC's track record more than.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, Wonder Woman, Shazam, Aquaman, this one, they're evening out for the goods and the bads since they started the DCU. I think. I mean, you get past
Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Shazam were all, for the most part, colorful, upbeat, and were different.
Right.
So when we go back to the quote unquote grim dark that previous DC movies are known to either be really good or really bad or really disheveled in between the two, that's where I was like, okay, I need to remember that this is going to be like I can picture like a Logan noir. I could picture a Joker noir. Right. So and in that sense, I was like, all right, I need to temper my expectations a bit, as much as I don't want to, because dude, just by the appetizers of these trailers, Joaquin was so good. I didn't want to see any more trailers. I didn't want to get spoiled by anything. Yeah. You know. Yeah.
And that's kind of where I was at. I watched the trailers, but I was like, okay. And I took everything with a grain of salt because I already knew that the setting was going to be in the early 80s. So I knew right off the bat, okay, this is not going to be something that's tied into, say, your Wonder Woman or your Aquamans. This is not. I didn't see that. That was the gist I was getting even before I walked into the movie theater, was this was going to be its own thing. And then sure enough, Todd Phillips, I think he went on record before the movie even started, and he said, hey, this is just a one-off. This is just, don't think this is going to be connected to anything. Yeah. And we'll get to that. We'll get to the references after where we talk about everything. But so the movie itself. So again, just kind of going there. First of all, I like the kind of like the opening, like the retro style opening credits. I thought that was kind of neat. But we first meet Arthur Fleck, or A. Fleck. Affleck. Yeah. I think his dad's name is Ben. I'm not sure. But anyway, so we see him, and we see him with a social worker, right? And and the reason I'm bringing this up is because we see his disposition. Like how
the beginning, we see him getting painted up for his job. He gets jumped by some kids. They steal his sign, and then when he goes after them, he gets the shit beat out of him and the sign broken over him. Yeah. And then that's how we start the movie. And then the next scene is him in the social worker's office. Yeah. Just looking around, seeing how crazy the world is becoming. You know.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The setting itself, early '80s New York, obviously, but it's the Gotham City, early '80s, right? So, that was one thing I did like about this movie, was the underlying theme of rich versus poor. The city's going down, like it's because of rich people and things like that. And
sound familiar?
Yeah, right. But they actually came up in one scene where the social worker in the middle of the movie was like, they're cutting our department, they're cutting our funding,
they're cutting our budget. Yeah, they don't care about people like you. Shit, they don't care about people like me.
And then he says, "Well, what about my medicine? You ain't got no more medicine." So, but we're kind of jumping the gun on that. But the reason I wanted to bring up the whole social worker thing to start was because like the opening scene, like you're saying, when he gets beat, he's in the clown outfit and he's doing the smile thing, all that stuff. That just kind of introduces us to him as a character. But the next scene where he's in with that social worker, like we see, it's like a close up of his face for a while, and he's talking, but then he starts kind of laughing, and we don't know why. He's just it goes on for a while.
Yeah,
and then that's when we started explaining about the you were just let out, you have your medications, you're on different all these mental illnesses. So we get the breakdown kind of right there, and then more of that information gets released like throughout the movie. But it's a nice way of saying, okay, this guy, he's got problems, and we see where this is it's going to bubble up at the end, obviously. Yeah. But so there we see like different aspects of his life. Like he lives in a ratty apartment with his mother, right? And that's just a bad situation. Just in general, she's like sick all the time or something on her bed, and so that plays off. There's something that will play off with that later on. What's another thing we see? He meets a girl in the apartment.
Oh, in the elevator, he meets Zazie Beetz' character in the elevator.
There's a surprise. There's a little twist on that. Where. Well, we'll get to that here. We're just going to introduce some things for now. One thing that was talked about when we first see him in his mother's apartment and everything is at nighttime they're watching a TV show. They're watching this late night show. Murray Franklin, played by Robert De Niro. So he like idolizes this guy, and this is where we find out where he has aspirations of being a stand-up comedian, and he envisions himself being like a guest on the like in the audience, and
gets his hair tasseled as a kid by Murray Franklin on the show.
So yeah, it's one of those things where he idolizes this guy. Yeah. So he just thinks in his mind he thinks that he just loves he
does no wrong.
Yeah. So they're really good at setting the seed, planting the seeds for a lot of different things that's going to hit all at the same time pretty much in this movie.
Let's talk about the catalyst.
Okay.
Dominoes start to fall. He's in an apartment with his mom. She's not doing well. They're low on money. He gets jumped by a bunch of young people. He gets offered a gun, and the gun falls out in the hospital. He loses his job because his boss claimed that he was selling the gun to another coworker there, which in fact wasn't the case. And then
that other coworker is the one that gave him the gun.
And it all culminates to this scene where you leave the pot on the oven long enough, it's going to come to a boil. And if you don't tend to it, the boil's going to explode. So when these three kids in the subway are taunting him and he can't control his reaction because the laughing is a nervous reaction, he gets jumped again. Yeah. And at some point, I don't know if this is where we might differ from each other, from the audience that's watching or listening to us. I've been in that situation several times where you feel like so many dominoes fall to the point where it's just going to knock you over. And that he reached that point to where when he's in the same situation he's familiar with, he does something about it.
Well, it's almost like he doesn't know he's doing it. Like it's just almost instinct because it was by accident, I think. Like not accident because he just pulled a gun and shot it, but he didn't realize what was happening at the time. But then once he did, then he started.
And he finished the job.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah,
he shot him in the ass. Among other places.
Well, then he followed him off the train, and as he's crawling, then pop, in the back. So,
and I think that's where he feels kind of liberated, where he finally gets one on the scoreboard for him, and he takes that momentum, and whether it's in his mind, we'll know later. It's late in the next scene of the movie. He knocks on Zazie Beetz' apartment. And he just goes to make out with her, and she closes the door.
Right.
So, another point.
Right.
In his mind that things are starting to go his way.
Right. And I don't think we touched on that though, but that was something that was introduced early in the movie where that laughing that he does, it is an uncontrollable condition that he laughs uncontrollably when he's
like a nervous twitch. That's his reaction to
when
it.
He's uncomfortable or intense
pressure, scrutiny,
something.
And that plays in. I had to watch the movie the second time to really get a lot of the nuances and see where the pieces fit, because a lot of things, you have to keep that in mind as the movie's going on to figure out or try your best to figure out what actually happened and what might just be in his head.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a great underlining detail in the movie that it.
Well, I'm going to ask you when we're done, which ones you thought were
Because it humanized him. And you know, a lot of like hardcore comic book readers might take offense to that the Joker's one of the few characters, if not the only character in at least Batman's rogue gallery where he doesn't need to be humanized. He doesn't need to have a backstory told. We know he's demented.
Well, in our last episode on the podcast, we did talk about the fact that he's got several origins.
Yeah.
Which one's the real one, we don't know, and that's kind of...
And now they just added this one.
Yeah, and we just kind of added this one, and I'm okay with that, because I think the whole villain being humanized and he's an origin, all that stuff, I think that hit me kind of I was like, ugh, God, but because I think we were just getting over Venom just came out or was coming out, whatever, and I was like, and it's not gonna have Spider-Man in it, it's just gonna be about him. I was like, well, okay, now we got Venom without the hero, now we have
Joker without Batman.
Like I thought we were going with a bad trend of things, but as we'll find out when we talk about the box office, it's not a very bad trend. But anyway, so yeah, there was the catalyst, like you were saying, which was in the subway, where he shoots those three guys, and the thing is but we find out later on about that catalyst, like you were saying, is those three guys were employees of Wayne Enterprises. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about the 80s, we're talking about the rich and the poor, yuppies and all that other stuff, and
upper class
and everybody else pretty much, right? So what we find out throughout the course of the film is because of that connotation of it was a clown on a subway who killed the three rich guys, that start almost like a uprising of the lower class people, and we start seeing that build slowly throughout the movie. About the halfway point in the movie, we were introduced to Thomas Wayne, because in one aspect, his mother said that she just kept writing letters to Thomas Wayne because she used to work there 30 years ago, and if he only knew the conditions that we were living in right now.
Because he's a nice person. He'll help people in need, and I worked with him, so he will know that I need him.
Yeah. And...
No reply.
No.
None.
No.
Mom leaves a note for him to mail out to Thomas Wayne, and Arthur reads it. Yeah. And another interesting twist.
A domino, if you will.
Yeah, that I never would have thought about before. So it seems, the mom's saying that Bruce and Arthur are brothers, and Thomas is his dad.
Right.
Which, sidebar, how fucking crazy could a Batman mythos be that they hate each other so much because they're actual siblings?
I don't think it'd be unheard of.
The Cain and Abel stuff's been done more than once.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if there was an Elseworld story out there somewhere I don't know about where Batman and Joker are in fact brothers. But it's a nice twist because everybody knows the history of these two characters. You can't have
they're the yin to the yang for each
exactly.
other. Yeah,
so that would just be one more layer on top of it. It's not necessarily needed, but getting back to the story of what we're dealt with here is. He finds out this letter. He confronts her. He's mad at her, whatever. So he actually goes to try to confront him. Mm-hmm. There's a movie
at the manor.
Yeah, no. Well,
at the manor first, he meets Bruce, and Alfred shies them away.
Yeah, okay.
Because when he met Thomas at the theater, Thomas was like, "Oh, you're the bastard that came over to my house."
That's right. Yeah.
So that's how that happened.
Yeah,
and he got punched in the face.
Yeah, Thomas Wayne punches dudes in faces.
Yeah,
saw that coming.
Yeah, Thomas started dropping the knowledge.
Thomas Wayne's kind of a dick.
Dropping the knowledge that his mom was a few fries short of a Happy Meal, Arkham Institute in Arkham. He's adopted.
And he's not believing all this. He just thinks Thomas Wayne is trying to just get under his skin or whatever. So he goes to Arkham, which it's Arkham State Hospital, not Arkham Asylum, which I thought that was a nice little twist to what we know.
But it's the 80s. They'll probably blend into it later.
Yeah, well, whatever. What are you going to do? So he does, in fact, get the records for his mother. And we do find out, according to these records, that she was crazy, right? And
that he was abused as a kid by her boyfriend, tied to a radiator.
And he was adopted. I think.
And he was adopted.
Yeah.
There was paperwork and everything that showed that he was adopted.
Yeah. So that sets him off. Now, meanwhile, another little side plot thing is going on where a couple detectives are snooping around and asking.
They're investigating the murder of the subway.
Yeah, and and one of the suspects, they said it might be a clown with the gun, and they found out that he had a gun at the children's hospital where he got fired from.
Yo, you used to work at Ha-Ha's?
Yeah.
But what about my mother? Like,
I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing either. But he gets interrogated at the hospital.
Yeah.
And Joker...
I gotta say, the very end of that scene.
Hits the door.
I was like, it reminded me of like a Sideshow Bob moment of him hitting the brake. That's what that reminded me of. But, because
I laughed for two reasons. Number one, exactly what you said.
Yeah.
Number two, if something were to happen like that to your family, you're not all straight. Like, You've got so many things going on that you're not focusing around you. And just as a random act of what the fuck, you would do that. You would run into the door because you're not paying attention because that's the last thing you're worried about.
So, now in this hospital, another big domino is about to fall.
Mm-hmm. And
he's in the hospital room with his mother. He's watching the TV. The late night show comes on. And I don't know how they have footage in the 1980s of open mic night at a improv stand up comedy place, but they do. They have footage of him, and it shows him where he did go out on stage to try to do his stand up act. Yeah, that he's trying to do, but he couldn't get it out because he started doing his laugh that he can't help not do. Yeah. But and then they played it on the show, and they start making fun of him and calling him names, blah blah blah.
But more importantly, that's when you have to start paying attention to the details.
Right.
When he's at the comedy show live doing that bit, Zazzy's in the back laughing, enjoying the moment. Right. When they're playing the video, there is no laughter. So it was all in his head that he assumed that the comedy bit was going all well, when in fact, it wasn't really going well.
Well, you got to think, when we first see him do the comedy bit in the movie, we just see the opening bits of it where he starts to do the joke, but he keeps laughing. And then we end it. We don't know how it ends. It cuts to like later on, where when we see it on the TV show, that's when they show, well, we have this other footage too. Let's play that, and that's when we get more of it, where it's just not working at all.
Yeah, it's not working at all.
Yeah, and I didn't catch that about no laughter.
And that's where we start seeing all the scenes where Arthur's walking down the street. In a scene where he's with Zazzy looking at the magazines, and then the next scene is the exact same scene, but he's alone.
Right.
And there's a scene where he's sitting next to her in the hospital at the foot of his mom's bed, and then the next scene is the same one, but she's not there. And then we start to see a lot of the delusion. There was a lot of that was...
No, the whole thing with her was just made up.
Yeah.
He just saw her once in an elevator, and she may or may not have done like doing a little
playful flirt,
or
whatever.
Just joking around. We don't know if she actually did that or not, but that's what he saw.
Any affection other than negative, he took that ball and ran like a motherfucker with it.
Yeah. So, and that's. Did you? Okay. I was kind of figuring it out like halfway through, like when they showed him on the dates and all that stuff. I was kind of thinking like, there's no way this is actually happening because he's too much of a. I don't want to say a loser, but he's too much messed up in the head.
The part that got to me was.
Did you legit think they were on a date? Did you really think they were like she was into him? I didn't.
At
see that.
first, I did, because again, I don't mean to say this in a negative way.
Yeah, you do.
Old wrestling promo. I surrounded myself with garbage, so I let myself become garbage. Like when there's people down in the dumps, they're gonna relate to other people that are down in the dumps, and there could be a mutual connection or attraction there. So that's like low hanging fruit at certain cases. So at first I kind of did buy that two people that are struggling in the same building for different reasons, but are still struggling, could find a connection or an understanding mutually that could possibly grow. Like other than the one scene where he walked into her apartment and started making out, there wasn't really much affection. They were just walking by each other at the donut shop. They're sitting across from each other. There wasn't a lot of intimacy there.
But we got that scene of them kissing, and that's where it leads you to believe that they are a couple and everything. And to me, I just wasn't buying it. So.
I'd be kissing Zazie Beetz all the time if we were a couple.
Yeah.
So, and he didn't. So
keyword there is if. Okay. So, yeah. She's not watching this. Okay, so where are we at? Okay, no.
So he kills his mom.
Well, yeah, he does.
And then he goes to the apartment complex, and he sits on and goes into Zazzy's apartment,
Yeah.
sits down, and she's like, that's where like
that was so awkward.
That's where the final domino drops. Like, oh shit, none of this is real. Nothing.
No, because we as an audience, we already knew the shoe was already dropped.
Yeah.
By the time he goes into her apartment, we already know that
something's not right.
It's not. Well, no, because they show us before she gets in the apartment that it wasn't real.
Yeah, but her reaction to it.
Yeah,
she sold it very well.
But I remember him going into the apartment, and I told him, like, "Oh God, he's gonna go into the apartment. This is gonna be bad." Because we know it's gonna be bad because it's
the Joker.
Just a dude, and you're a single mom, and there's a dude on your couch.
In a rando.
Yeah. In an urban city.
Yeah.
In shabby apartments. Yeah, you know.
You're a mother of a toddler. Lock the fucking door.
No kidding. Shame on you. Bad mother.
Oh, we're victim shaming now?
Yes, we are. It's all your fault. Anyway.
He finishes her off.
Whoa. Finishes her off.
He kills her.
Who?
Zazzy.
No, he doesn't.
That's next scene where he's on the couch in his underwear, smoking, laughing. The sirens are pulling up to the apartment complex. And we never see Zazzy again. Put the pieces together, bruh. He kills her. Just like he killed the mom. And then here's where like we start getting into
hold on.
We stop getting into 2-dimensional and we go into 3-dimensional.
Maybe
something happened in this movie after that.
I'm still you stop.
Watch it again.
Pump the brakes, dude.
He kills her. How? Wait. Okay, let's rewind this scene for everyone to catch up and we play along together.
Yeah.
A rando shows up in this woman's apartment. Yeah. Her toddler's asleep. She's scared shitless. He's sitting there. And then the next scene, he's walking out of her apartment. What the fuck do you think happened? She broke him off some?
Well, no, I'm not saying that.
All right, she gone.
All right. Well, maybe I need to rewatch that part because I didn't get that. But yeah, you're probably right.
Then there's this one scene that really started fucking with my perception of this movie. Those old school 70s fridges that were in his apartment where he emptied it out.
Oh, yeah.
There's not a latch on the inside.
Right. I know.
Yeah.
So I was going to mention that.
He closed the door and make sure that it's shut.
Yeah.
So he's dead. So how? And that further leads me to believe when we get to the last scene where he's actually invited on the show because there's a fan response.
Yeah.
Either all that has to be fake, because if Joker's nervous, if it's a situation like being in front of the public where he was practicing and he's still like, I would have thought he would have been laughing the entire time on that when he sat down in front of Murray.
Right.
So that had to have been like,
yeah. It was kind of weird. Now you could okay.
See, it's like you have to walk into the theater with a condom on because it's a mind fuck. Like really.
So, because I see your point, and I thought that too. Whenever he shut himself inside the refrigerator, not right away, but on the drive home, I was like, oh fuck, he put himself in the refrigerator. He's probably dead. But my thing is, you could take that at the end scene where he's on the show and he's calm and cool and collected. Now, you can take that as two ways. One, it's all hallucinate, it's all not real. Or two, that all the dominoes did fall and he's got no fucks left to give. And he is on that cool and calm and collected now. And he doesn't have to worry about that nervous laugh anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying. It could go
he got the momentum back because he killed his mom and he killed the girl.
No anchors left.
Yeah.
He can just go full board. No medications, no mother, no
and
girl.
The last person that crossed him was Murray.
Right.
Because Murray, when he played back the footage, called him a Joker.
Right.
So that's how he wanted to be introduced as. And he had a plan of what he was going to do, even that he rehearsed it at home.
But he's going to shoot himself.
Yeah, but instead of killing himself, he laid it all out there that, you were just going to bring me on here to make fun of me.
Yeah. And he
got the last laugh.
Right in the eye.
Mm.
Can you imagine if that happened? Like you're watching a talk show and there's some dude. First of all, let's back up a sec. I know I'm sorry, we're like all over this place, but you know what? This movie was too.
Yeah.
So
not in a bad way, because we're talking about it with smiles on our faces.
So leading up to him being on the talk show at the end, there was even more of the uprising, that revolution of
The rebellion.
the rebellion. All these people are wearing clown masks now, so it was like everywhere. Like people are dressed up as clowns. These detectives are coming to find them, and they lose them in the train. And there's a shooting or something on the train. So when he shows up on the talk show as a clown,
The executive producer's already worried, but the host is like,
It'll be
cool.
It'll be good for ratings.
It'll be good for ratings.
Yeah.
It's good for a laugh. Yeah.
And that's when he says, can you introduce me as Joker?
Yeah.
Him in that makeup and everything, him not having the nervous laugh. That's the best part. Him
he's whole.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. And the best part about this, when he's in there and before the shit hits the fan, he lays out this little speech, right, about what's going on, and you come to make fun of me, blah blah blah, and then he shoots him. After he shoots him, and he doesn't go up to the camera. Does he do like
he dances speech? Around while the other guests were just sitting on the couch, and then they ran. And he walks up to the end, and he finishes the show for Murray. He drops Murray's punchline. Yeah. By the way, that's life.
Yeah,
but he couldn't even finish the line because they cut the feed, and then you see all the TVs with all the news showing the fucking thing.
Yeah,
okay. One other caveat that I really appreciated, brings us back to that episode we did last week where even villains at one point have their own moral code.
Some of them do.
If I cost a guy a job that involved a gun, why would I go visit that guy? Ever. So when he shows up with the little midget friend from the clown job to offer condolences and sympathy to Joker for losing his mom, and Joker's like, all the empathy's gone. He's like, I'm better now than I ever was.
Yeah.
And he calls him out on, you kind of fucked me over with this whole thing, and he stabs him with the scissors, and he's dead. And
the little
guy's like freaking out, and then Joker lets him leave, and then he taunts to go after him. Don't tell me you didn't laugh when he tried to.
Yeah, I laughed.
And then Arthur opens the door for him and tells him, "You're the only one that was ever nice to me." Kisses him on the head, and he lets him leave just willingly, like nothing. Do
you think he killed him too?
Hell no. Hell no. But I appreciated that because, again, I don't know if this is a positive or negative depending on whose viewpoint it is. The humanizing of solidifying the humanizing of the character, for whatever disease or mental illness or something you have, at the end of the day, these people are humans just like everybody else. And seeing that for all his flaws, he still recognized that people that were nice to him deserved that in kind, and he let the dude go. It kind of rewarded the character.
In his head.
Assuming, yes. But even then, the fact that he would think of that.
Did that even happen? Did they even go to his apartment?
Again, why would I, if I cost this fool his job? But even retroactively, like subconsciously, he's still aware that the people that didn't screw him, he's not going to deal with. Yeah. Like, he'll let the guy go. It just, even if that scene was real or not, it just kind of like put a ribbon on top of the character that was presented to us.
I want to go back for just a second here. Going back to that when he's kind of stalking Thomas Wayne in the movie theater. Mm-hmm. He's kind of watching him from a distance. Right then and there, because this was after the scene with Bruce.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and he's in there, and right as I'm thinking, okay, in my mind, I don't know why this is clicking in my mind like this, but we have Thomas Wayne, we've seen Bruce Wayne already, and they're at a movie theater. Oh shit, we could probably see him killing the parents in this movie and setting up the whole Batman origin too.
Mm-hmm.
Sure enough, during the whole riot scene after he shoots Murray in the head and all that, all hell's breaking loose. The Waynes are in the theater.
A different time, a different showing.
They're watching Zorro like they're supposed to be doing in every other iteration. They're going out. They go down the alley. Sure enough, there's a dude in a mask.
A dude.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not him. I don't think. I don't think it's him.
Oh my god!
But you don't know. He's probably dead in a refrigerator somewhere. So who knows?
Devil's advocate. We've had 3 different Spider-Man origin stories show us the death of Uncle Ben. Did we really need the visual of the parents dying again in this movie? After we just got it, a year ago, 2 years ago?
Well, here's the thing. I want to put a pin on that because I want to talk about that when we're done here. So we get the end. There's a riot going on in the streets. He's dancing on a hood, and everybody's
like the Astros won the World Series.
Yeah, right. And then we cut to him back in Arkham.
Uh-huh.
He's talking to, I don't know if that wasn't supposed to be the same lady.
It's a new lady.
Okay, well, I don't know. And it was very vague to me anyways, if this was taking place like after all this has happened or before. And I think that's on purpose.
Yeah. So
he leaves that room and there's like footsteps and there's blood on the footsteps.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see him getting chased by an orderly.
So where do you think he got that from?
From the chick he was talking to.
You understood that, but you didn't understand him killing Zazie.
Because there's no blood on his feet on that one. That's all I'm saying. And yeah, plus he starts running away from the orderlies and stuff. So, but that's how the movie ends.
Yeah, like Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, back and forth.
And then a Warner Brother logo.
They didn't need to do that. They didn't need to go back and forth like that, but they did. Goddammit, and I appreciate that. So anyway, that's how the movie ends. And you leave the theater thinking, Jesus, what did I just watch? What all happened and what didn't happen? Because I think that's the underlining thought process for me is like, what did I see and what actually happened and what didn't happen? So my question to you, with what we've seen at the very end of that movie, what all do you think happened? Do you think any of this happened at all?
Oh, snap.
Do you think any of this movie actually happened?
That's a loaded question.
No,
because I was not expecting. I'm picking in my mind like things that I thought happened. Bits and pieces did. Bits and pieces didn't. But the whole
movie,
thing.
Did any of it happen?
Wow.
Did that last scene when he's talking to that lady?
That's all, folks.
Is that the beginning of the movie? Is that before the movie even happens? And all this was just in his head because he's crazy. That just blew your mind, didn't I?
He didn't give me any time to put the condom on.
That's what she said.
Oh my God. You know the perfect summarization I got from this movie was
from answer the question.
No, I'm not going to answer the question because I have no answer for the question. The movie for me was summarized perfectly by a woman who decided to take her 9-year-old son to the same screening that I was at on Thursday night. When the credits started rolling and the lights turned on and we started standing up, I can distinctly hear the mother turning down to her son and saying, "Son, this is why we're nice to everyone all the time."
It's a moral lesson.
Understand? That, like a ton of bricks, that thing just went, poof.
Well, okay, so... and I'm still on the fence. My own question. My own question that I posed.
How much is real? How much? What's live? What's Memorex?
Yeah, I already know. Well, the ZZ Bates thing, I knew.
That's a wash. That's out.
But you blew my mind on that anyways. So there's that.
So this is payback.
Was the mother even real?
Oh snap! Did you notice at the before he went to the Murray show, he had a picture of his mom younger, and he turned it over. And it said, "Love your smile, TW."
Yes.
Holy crap. That's why so much of this movie felt believable. The whole upper class versus the lower class.
Here's my thing.
The political aspect because he's trying to run for mayor because he thinks he can do better.
He doesn't want any drama.
Relate that to freaking like Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky. If you want to go more current, Kavanaugh and Blasey Ford. Like these scandals tend to happen,
didn't really happen
9 times out of 10.
Okay, but
scandal, and
right.
So when you see the little bits like that, like, was that real? Was he lying?
I think he was because he got very defensive in that bathroom when he started asking him. So defensive, he just punched him in the face.
Yeah,
and put in the shift. And you can even say, look, well, you got the medical records. Well, medical records maybe have been altered, possibly. Crazier things have happened.
Yeah,
right. If this even happened at all. No.
Looking towards the future, if Bruce Wayne has such a very straight and narrow moral compass because he learns that his dad's was so crooked and off the beaten path. And maybe he was corrupt. the dad.
Nah.
And maybe he was planting seeds.
No, that's another thing. They were saying that, well, you know, the whole Bruce Wayne thing, seeing the Batman thing at the end. First of all, I want to say, because we talked about the references, right?
Mm-hmm.
This thing right here is, I want to say it's kind of a takeaway for me, because it's not Joker. Like, it's not the Joker for me. This is just a version of Joker. Matter of fact, if you think about all the references, like your Arkhams and your Bruce Waynes and your Thomas Waynes, remove all those aspects, you have the same movie.
Mm-hmm.
You just call it something else. You know, you can call it Joker, but it's just a name only.
Yeah.
The Thomas Wayne, he could have been named anybody. You could just remove the whole Bruce Wayne aspect. You could just be a son. It doesn't really matter who the son is. Arkham, just be whatever. You know, it doesn't have to be Arkham. So all the references, almost in a way, are almost shoehorned in to appease comic book fans.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe this script wasn't really a Joker script for DC's Joker. Maybe this was just a movie about a dude with a whole bunch of
I read
problems.
something online where the director Todd Phillips had this idea of releasing a serious movie under the guise of a comic book movie so that people could take the comic book movie seriously. And so they made this movie and slapped the Joker name on it and made it work. Because for whatever doubts you have, it made money.
Yeah, it did. Matter of fact, so we're talking about box office numbers. First of all, this thing had a production of only $55 million. So like the studios didn't have a lot of faith. They just just do whatever.
And it's released in October.
Yeah.
Remind me the last great movie that came out in October.
Venom. So
that doesn't have to happen.
So domestically, as of right now, as of today, I'll pull these numbers up today. Domestically, $247 million.
Go!
Foreign, right? It finally hit China and all these other markets. $491 million for a total worldwide $38 million. It's on track to be the biggest R-rated opening movie. Bottom line, I tell you this: R-rated comic book movies, or actually R-rated movies. Deadpool, $783 million. So flip those two numbers: 783, 738. That's where we're at. We're almost catching up to Deadpool numbers already, and it's still in the theater. It's still playing in the theater right now.
It's barely the second week.
Yeah. And it's catching up to Deadpool, the biggest R-rated comic book movie, whatever. Actually, not R-rated, just R-rated movie in general, not comic book, just R-rated. So yeah, it stomped Venom, because Venom was for last year or whatever. It was like the biggest R-rated opening, blah blah blah. But
do we get a sequel?
No. Just no. First of all, it doesn't warrant a sequel. Just on the story that we were told, this was.
Do you bring the Joker back in a Batman movie, Joaquin Phoenix?
No. Now you could do when you do the next. Well, the Batman is currently filming, and they're getting their casting for it. So
if the Joker was set in the 60s, if the Batman is set in the 80s, and Batman's what, 30? Bruce Wayne's 30? The Joker's 45, 50?
No, what are you talking about, dude? No, in this movie, Joaquin Phoenix, I'm assuming he's like in his late 30s, early 40s, mid 40s in this movie. And Bruce is like 8. So by the time he becomes Batman, this dude's going to be like 70 years old. That ain't happening. That's not going to be the case. So I'm okay with this. And that's one of the reasons I'm okay with this being a one and done, Elseworlds only. Mm-hmm. This is just a standalone story of a person calling himself
as a
Joker.
Warner Brothers executive, you wouldn't want to milk that tea a little more and see if you can get something else out of it?
Oh, I'm sure they're talking about it. You're asking as me as a person.
Yeah.
No, this is not. But if I'm in the top seat of Warner Brothers somewhere, I'm thinking, this thing just killed. We're almost talking about $1 billion franchise right here. So it wouldn't surprise me. But Todd Phillips has even gone on record saying, no, we are not doing a sequel of this.
Beep,
now,
beep,
yeah. Now, if
it's that dump truck of money coming,
they can do another movie based on Joker.
Yeah.
I don't see a problem with that, because clearly, well, I don't say clearly, but it could be the case of the name Joker. It's we talked about in the last episode. It's a name that's permeated throughout pop culture. Everybody knows Joker. But also, this movie didn't do good because of Joaquin Phoenix and the story. And there wasn't a huge drop-off week to week so far. I mean, people are still going out to see this movie.
Consistently.
So I think it is... I wonder how much of that is repeat viewings.
Yeah.
Because I would think, like, I'm sure you saw some other things in the second viewing that you didn't catch the first time. So, and I'm just going off of one viewing. This guy, he saw it twice already. So
dedicated to our podcast, man.
Yeah, you just want an excuse to go watch a movie.
Sure, why not?
There's reclining chairs, man. So, is there anything else you didn't like about the movie, or any detractions from this movie?
Again, I'm not bound by all the history of the knowledge of the Joker, all the pop culture phenomena.
Yeah. So
I'm not saying this as a diehard comic guy that just loves everything Batman and DC and, all that stuff.
But that being said,
I don't think there are many flaws in this movie.
Yeah, for all intents and purposes,
the second viewing actually felt a lot more smoother than it did the first time. Like, this was an hour and 45 minutes that just went.
I said this at the beginning of the episode here was nothing felt wasted.
Yeah.
Like, every scene was put to use. And for that reason, with the cast that we had, with the story that was being told, and the time that was being told, and the way it was all structured, is it too early to say this is almost a perfect film?
There's 2.5 months left to try to prove me wrong, but as of now, this is my movie of the year. I've seen.
I'm not talking about movies of the years and rankings. I'm just talking about as a cinematic experience, as a movie. Like we say, like movies like Pulp Fiction, that's a perfect film. This movie, is this like a perfect film from the way it's written, the way it's directed, the way the cast is, the score. That's one thing we didn't talk about. Is the music in this thing.
The only thing that would be a detraction, if you're talking about that category, perfect film, fiction, there's a lot of aspects to that movie that make it a rewatchable movie that you can just pop in at any time and watch it. I'm not sure how many times I would want to see the systematic destruction of a human being and what comes out after it. For example, one of my cult favorites is RoboCop.
Okay.
The cop gets broken down to the nothing and gets rebuilt
very
again.
Brutally.
Gets literally rebuilt again, and he redeems himself.
I hope you're talking about the original 19.
Yes, I am.
Okay, right.
Yeah, forget the new one. Tactical Black. Do people want to admit that the Joker redeemed himself in this movie by doing everything he did? Like, at some point, this kind of movie, you can appreciate it for an artistic worth or a value, even if it's stunning from start to finish and we can't pick a flaw. But do you want to see this movie over and over again?
But that goes back to my point of view in this movie, where I don't see this as the regular Joker character that I know. This is just a standalone movie. So that being the case, I'm going to say yes. This is looking like it is going to be. I mean, my flaws that I have in this are basically nitpicks and things that are subjective. Like me, I don't like. He had there was something very charismatic about him in the movie, even though he's messed up in the head. There's something that makes you. He's got that it factor. You just want to watch it. Like you just want to see what he's going to do, and I didn't like seeing him get beat up throughout the whole movie. So you see nice guys in movies, and I just like seeing him getting beat up all the time, and he just got beat up a lot in this movie.
So you felt genuine pride for his retribution when he stood up for himself in the subway. Again, that's subjective. I'm not calling. I'm not saying say it's negative. But if you're,
I'm not saying it's justified to kill dudes, but I'm just saying
3-on-1, wouldn't you?
In that circumstance, I mean,
don't judge us. We're just talking about the movie. But in movie's sake, 3-on-1 in the same situation you've been at before. If you had the
mid
option,
or early '80s in the subway in New York or Gotham or whatever.
Keep in mind, it's your word against the entire world. Yeah. No one's ever gonna know that these three dipshits were the ones that caused the whole thing to happen. And
they were taunting them. They weren't really doing anything. But were they actually taunting them? Were they actually doing anything?
They attacked him.
That's what we Did he imagine that though?
But he was laughing. Like, he was uncontrollably laughing to the point that, for me, the scenes because it was defined in the beginning that's a nervous twitch. That's a tick that he has. Right. So anything that he couldn't control felt real to me. So but the scene at the show didn't feel real to me because he was calm through the whole thing. I would have been nervous as fuck. You know, if I would have walked up to Zazie Beetz' apartment wanting to get some play, I'd be nervous as fuck. So for him to be like reacting nervously to an uncomfortable situation and then that uncomfortable situation coming to him, I felt that was real. I felt that actually happened.
Okay.
And no one will ever know the truth that he was actually in self-defense. All they see is a guy in a clown mask.
Right.
Shooting three white guys that had such potential in life.
Because they're rich. And
they're
white. Okay.
Sounds about white.
Yeah. So,
on that note,
I think I was gonna do some other stuff, but you know what? We can save this for another episode. So, I think this is a great movie.
Is he in your top 3?
Yeah. Well, and yes, it is. But in my defense, I haven't really seen that many movies this year.
No, is he in the top 3 of your Jokers?
Oh yes, yeah. My top 3
total voice.
Oh no, I'm not counting voice.
No,
Hamill's out. I'm just talking about actors on the screen.
Okay, actors on the screen. Number 1.
Nicholson.
Number 2.
Phoenix.
Number 3.
Romero.
Ooh!
I told you, dude. Ledger. He's overrated in my mind. He was next. He was next on my list.
Send your hate mail to popculturerewind@gmail.com.
I'm open for debate. I'll debate it, but I'm just...
Is that an excuse to do a part 3 of the trilogy of the Joker?
No.
No? You're done? You don't even want to do another podcast of the Joker yet. You think this is a perfect movie that you want to keep watching. Yeah.
Look, I'm going to buy the damn thing when it comes out. I'll watch it again.
I'll buy your digital copy, bitch.
I'm going to charge you extra for it.
Bitch.
Nobody gets that reference. Anyway,
all
right,
man.
so that's going to be it for the show. I hope you enjoyed us talking about Joker. What did you think of the movie? Do you think we're crazy and thinking that none of this actually happened in the movie?
Romero, Phoenix, Nicholson for me.
Romero. Oh, you put Romero on top. All right.
A lot of that's sentimental because of my old man. But we're there.
Yeah.
More or less.
So, yeah. Give us some comments down there. Tell us your favorite moments of this movie. If you like, you didn't like it. And if you'd like to like what you heard, give us a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. We'd greatly appreciate it. And that's going to do it. So until next time, always remember to pop your culture. Isn't that what it normally happens? Yeah.
Wah, wah, wah.
Silence you! Hello and welcome to another episode of Pop Culture Rewind. I'm your host, Travis.
This is Chris.
And on this episode, we hope to just make you smile. Yeah. Put on a happy face, that's what I'm into you. Hello and welcome to another episode of Pop Culture Rewind. I'm your host, Travis.
Hey, this is Chris.
Yes. Yeah. And in this episode, we hope to put a smile on your face. And what the fuck? I keep messing this up. Damn it! We're going to make you smile and put on a happy face. That's what I keep meaning to say. God damn it, Chris. I want to blame you, but I can't. I didn't know where we're going. Okay, I mean, I knew where I was going. I didn't know where you're going. All right, I'm blaming that on you.
We're on a tight budget.
Yeah. All right.
Keep going.
All right.
Or is that it?
No, fuck no. We're not using that one. All right.
That scene from Batman 66 where the villains come out and the Joker comes out and they play that theme, that song in the background. I tried, man. I tried very hard.
That's how we end the show.
That's how we end the show. No, that's not how we end the show. Top guys.
Yeah.
right, hit the button.
All right.
Let's do the thing.